Mike, it feels good sometimes to just get a little separate, little slice, a little me and you action on the side, talking about whatever breakout thing we want to talk about. Today is a little special episode. We're gonna talk a little bit about Bubsy 4D. Give that game a little review, a little spotlight. I feel like there's gonna be a lot of people that are really excited that Bubsy is back. And Bubsy's back in like a serious, real way with like really good developer making in the game, not just like some nostalgia grab. There's some quality here, and we'll get into it in a second. But before we do that, welcome everyone to the Pass Control Podcast, a show where a couple of best friends talk about the latest in video games and nerd culture. Sometimes we have guests, sometimes we talk about Bubsy too much. Either way, we have a new episode for you each and every week. As always, I'm your host, Brenden Groom, and joining me on this lovely episode 523 of the show, is the one, the only Martini Mike, Mr. Anna Minute himself, Michael Desir. Mike, how are you tonight?
Sweating my balls off.
Yeah, it's hot. It's been a hot couple of days over here, which is like, it always does this. It goes from like, it's cold and crappy and like it should be warmer by now because we're like through spring mostly, and it still just hasn't really been that great. And then the last couple of days have just been a scorcher. You need to put in your ACs, don't you?
Yeah, but like it's gonna be cool. Not necessarily tomorrow, but like the few days after that. So I'm not stressed about it for the next couple days.
Gotcha. No, it was the day, whatever day you came over and we were outside grilling. The beginning of that day, that morning, I was forced to put the air conditioners in. It was the right call. It's been hot here, and it gets hot, especially up on the second floor. So, cool. Well, we got a great show for you tonight. Like I said, we're going to talk about Bubsy a little bit, review that game. Before we do that, a couple of quick housekeeping things. This episode of the show is sponsored by our good friends at Goodnight Fatty. If you're in the Salem, Massachusetts area or the North Shore of Massachusetts on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday evening, you want yourself something hot, something sweet, something tasty, something fresh out of the oven, you can head on down to 1 Washington Square and get yourself a delicious fatty. And if you're unaware of what a fatty is, you can check them out on social media at Goodnight Fatty and educate yourself on these tasty treats. And you can also visit them on Thursdays and Mondays. I need to remember to start saying that. I don't know why I can't. I need to write it down, which is not going to help me since I don't read the ad read. It's just in my head. But we'll figure that out at some point. But check them out on social media at Goodnight Fatty and at Good Morning Chubby and educate yourself on these tasty, tasty treats. For other housekeeping things, the PTC Movie Club for May is Dom's pick, and it is That's My Boy. He's continuing us down the Andy Samberg rabbit hole that we were sort of on last year. Is it a Lonely Island joint? No, right? It's a Happy Madison movie, right?
Right.
Okay. Does Lonely Island have like a... Oh, go
ahead. I know 3 things about the movie. The title... Actually, 4 things. The title, Adam Sandler, Andy Samberg, Vanilla Ice. Those are the only things I know about the film.
Okay. I did not know Vanilla Ice was a major part of that film.
I don't know if he's a major part. I just know that he's in it.
Okay.
So that is the beginning and ending of my knowledge of the film.
I know nothing about it. I've never seen it. I'm excited to watch an Andy Samberg joint. So hopefully that's good. So if you want to hear us talk about That's My Boy at the end of May or sometime shortly at the beginning of June, make sure you watch that film because we're going to chat about it later this month. Other than that, I think we can just move on from housekeeping. I think we can hold off on some of that other stuff. So before we get into Bubsy 4D, Mike, you just had the pleasure of watching an early screening of The Mandalorian and Grogu. And what are your spoiler-free thoughts on this next big thing from the Star Wars universe on the big screen? It was okay. This is not looking good already.
Well, like it's not like trying to think about like the last time I saw a Star Wars movie, I was like blown away. I guess it would have been Rogue One. Rogue One was like a movie that I watched. I was like, oh wow, this is great. This is more of like all right, yeah. I haven't
Okay.
seen Mando and Grogu in a while. They're back at it. They're just kind of doing a little thing. But it wasn't like it didn't feel super cinematic a lot of the time. It really just felt like here. So the weird thing about it is that yes, it has a narrative, there's a plot, but it feels as though like I could see it being like 5 or 6 episodes
Okay.
put together. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, I got you.
Where it starts off and you think it's going to do one thing, but it's really another thing.
Okay.
Um, all that being said, I guess if you like The Mandalorian and Grogu, you can see it, but it also seems like the kind of movie where it's like, honestly, when it on Disney Plus, I was already watching it on Disney Plus. I'll just wait for it there.
Yeah. It's something I'll probably go see just because, I like Star Wars. I don't go to the movies super often, so usually a nice little popcorn flick is the thing that'll get me into the theaters most of the time. But it's I feel like it's in this weird space of I feel like the fan base doesn't even know what they want from Star Wars anymore. Like I feel like it's just I feel like the conversation online always around Star Wars is just like such a convoluted like extreme back and forth. Like you're either like Mr. Star Wars or you're like anti every Star Wars thing or there's some issue or not issue. I don't know. Or there's all the stupid people that try to make things that aren't really things and grift and all that bullshit too. But um I don't know, I just like fucking Grogu a lot, to be honest. And Mando's fine.
If you like Grogu, I mean, you'll love this movie. Matter of fact, Mando has like some strong showings in the film as well.
Okay.
Um,
I mean I like Grogu as a character. Like and I
mhm.
think it's like I think it's one of Star Wars. I think it's one of their better like little guys that they've made, if you know what I mean. Like it's like Grogu to me is like better than an Ewok and like better than a lot of the other stuff that's like tries to be like the kind of breakout
Oh, I mean,
merchandise
there's
thing.
another thing in here that you are gonna love.
Oh well, so that's the thing I was gonna say is I think my goat is Babu Frick. So like the fact that those little guys, whatever that alien species is,
I forget what they're called. Yeah.
there's a bunch of them at least in the fucking marketing. So like,
Mhm.
yeah, I'm gonna enjoy this movie because Babu Frick and company are seemingly a big little chunk of some part of this movie. So I'm looking forward to that. Like,
Yeah.
like I have a. Is he? I don't know where he is. Maybe he's on my other shelf. Yeah, he's over there. I have a Christmas ornament of C-3PO with Babu Frick on his shoulder, and when you press the button, he's like, it's like whatever that scene is from the movie where like whatever he does to C-3PO and his eyes turn red and he like starts saying Sith
Sith
whatever
stuff. Yeah.
stuff. And you just hear Babu Frick like, I'm like, this is the best invention ever. Anyways, yeah, I'm a Babu Frick sicko, so I'm a Babu Fricku. So, anyways, is that what you're referring to? That I'm gonna love this movie because of that?
Yeah.
Are they like
Right.
a big part of the film?
They're a big part for a section of it.
Okay, all right, yeah, I'm gonna enjoy that. Like, I don't know, it's fine. I'm gonna see it at some point and it'll be fine. So for you though, like this stacks up like Solo is your goat like non main trilogies movie. I feel like that's probably for most people. Did I say Solo? I meant Rogue One.
You said Solo.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
meant Rogue One.
Yeah, Rogue One probably. Um, what else is there besides Rogue One? Because they
Solo.
did Rogue One, they did Solo,
I think there's
and they
one
did
more.
this.
Is that it? It's just these three? Maybe they canceled something else? I thought there was another one. Maybe not.
I think so because the last movie was Solo, right? Or no.
No, there
Maybe
had to have been something since Solo.
it would have been Last Jedi or not Last Jedi, Rise of Skywalker. I don't think there's been anything since Rise of Skywalker.
That might be correct. Let's see what Wikipedia says for a
You must
list
have
of
looked
Star
at
Wars
after.
films. Yeah, no, it is Rise of Skywalker was 2019. Solo was 2018. So, yeah, so it has been a while. I feel like I didn't even realize it's been that long since a Star Wars
Yeah,
movie.
it's been this is like the first Star Wars movie in a while, so that's why they've got a lot riding on this.
Yeah.
And I don't think it really knocked it out of the park because it doesn't feel like a like I don't remember if they're doing any more Mando and Grogu show after this. But
No, I'm
isn't
not
like a
sure.
grand conclusion to like their story. It just feels like, all right, yeah, this was a season, and like they do this little thing.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think Star Wars is just like people love Andor. You know
Yeah,
what I mean?
Andor's great.
They're capable of telling good stories and making good media out of Star Wars. So I don't think things are like in this dire place personally, but sometimes the fandom on the internet would make it appear otherwise. But we'll see. I don't know. It's a film that I'll go and watch at some point. I'm not running out to go see it, but I will probably see it while it's in theaters. I might walk down to Cinema Salem, grab a random showing, nice bucket of popcorn, call it a night. You know what I mean? Have a good time.
Mm-hmm.
Is this above Solo for you?
I mean, I'm gonna say off the rip, yes, but that's only because I remember disliking Solo. I don't remember exactly what my fundamental problems were with the movie, and I've never
Okay.
really revisited it.
I've only watched it once. I remember enjoying Solo enough. I didn't think it was like a good. I don't know. It wasn't like anything special. I don't want to go too deep down the Star Wars hole. I think one of my bigger things with Solo that I didn't feel like I had the same thing with Rogue One, and I guess if you haven't seen either of these films, maybe this is a good 30 seconds to skip forward, but like Rogue One, we knew that there was going to be an ultimate fate for those characters. But in Solo, you know that nothing bad can happen. Like, nothing really bad can happen to Chewie or Han because you know that this is in the past and those characters go on to do all of these other things. So,
I mean, to be fair, Rogue One also took place in the past.
no. So what I'm saying is, Rogue One, you know that there is a fate to these characters. Like, you know that like these characters are like this movie's probably going to end with their fate, right?
Oh, I mean, I would argue that some of us went into it thinking like, okay, we haven't seen these characters in the present, but they might be like, it might be revealed that one of them is important come uh the sequel trilogy. Like,
Yeah,
oh, this character ages into this character. For instance, not saying specifically Max von Sydow, but he was like the old guy at the beginning of Force Awakens that we don't know anything about, but he seemed to be like well informed about
yeah,
the goings on. It's like, well, maybe he was not that he was one of the characters younger in Rogue One, but you could argue that they might have survived
mm,
and just been played by older actors in sequel films.
yeah. So uh, the I guess the point I was trying to make is you know that there's like potentially an ultimate fate for some of the characters or all the characters in Rogue One, just because you know what that movie's story is like, kind of telling you, and you know that there's sort of automatic plot armor for Han and Chewie because they're not going to die or get like hurt or something in these films because you know that they go on. But Rogue One still tells like a very compelling, engaging, and at moments still like very I don't know what's gonna happen type of film, where I think Solo, that's where a lot of the stuff is not done super well for me. I don't know. But like I liked Donald Glover was a good Lando. Like I liked
Yeah.
I liked his droid too. I forget what his droid's name was.
I think it ultimately like it wasn't like L337, but it was something close to that.
Yeah. And I didn't dislike the actor that played Han. Like I like the movie was fine. It just, it was whatever. Rogue One was really good. So kind of hard to do spin-off movie up against that and be not as good of a movie, and it becomes a little glaring for like a property as big as Star Wars. I would imagine that just a lot of stuff gets highlighted very quickly. But anyways, it's enough about Star Wars. I'm glad you saw it. I'll watch it at some point. We'll see how I feel about it then. I'm sure Todd will have a lot of lovely things to say about it if he ever watches it. I'm curious to see what Dom thinks about it, since Dom is also a pretty big Star Wars guy. So it'll be interesting to see what we all think about that at some point. Anyways, but that does bring us to the main event, which is Bubsy 4D. Before we get into Bubsy 4D, Mike, what do you have any personal interaction with any Bubsy? Like, what is Bubsy to you?
A mascot character of a game that I've never played.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair. I mean, I would argue up until this point, you are not missing much. I played Bubsy. I don't think I've ever owned a Bubsy game aside from Bubsy 4D and the Perfect Collection, which is a collection of old Bubsy games now. That's now available. But I don't think I ever owned Bubsy back then. I remember, like, there's always these, like, specific games that exist in my, like, growing up of, like, oh, I never owned that game, but there's, like, this specific friend. I would go to their house, and they had this game. So when there was an opportunity to, like, play games at their house, this would be the game I'd play. And it was not Bubsy. But, like, I had one friend that lived around the corner from me, and it was not often that we played in his house. But if we ever did go inside, he had Donkey Kong Country, and I don't think I ever owned it. I don't remember ever owning it. But it would be like, oh, can we play Donkey Kong for a little bit? Like, I would always want to play Donkey Kong. There was another friend who lived, like, in another part of town, and whenever I got to, like, stay there, like, sometimes if I was allowed to, like, sleep over there or something, I pretty sure I would stay up late and play Kirby 64 and the Crystal Shards, because, again, another game I didn't own, and it was like, he had this game. I'm gonna just, like, stay up late and sneak into the fucking TV room and play Kirby 64, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to, and then I wouldn't be able to sleep, and Duckman would be on TV. I don't know. Childhood was weird. Sometimes it's just bizarre. So Bubsy was one of these games for me. I don't think I ever owned a Bubsy game. We may have rented Bubsy at different points, but Bubsy is something I definitely associate with, like, other people's houses and playing it, and not really caring about Bubsy. And I don't think revisiting some of these old Bubsy games in the Bubsy Perfect Collection, I think my memory of the game was not inaccurate. Those games are not that great, in my opinion. And I don't think that I am alone in a lot of that those opinions. But what we have here is a character, a series that I think, even like in your situation, you never played Bubsy, but you know what Bubsy is, and you know that Bubsy's kind of a punchline, like in the pantheon of, like, mascot platformers. Bubsy's probably somewhere at the bottom of that tier list, would be my guess. For most people, there's plenty of other not great platformers, but I think Bubsy is a more famously bad one that kind of exists on the bottom for a lot of people. But with Bubsy 4D, we really have this situation where Bubsy ain't so bad anymore. And it's not this game that I think is, and I think I touched on this in the beginning, unless we were talking about before the podcast started, but it's not one of these situations where the developer Fabraz and the publisher Atari are just trying to, like, capitalize on nostalgia, which, again, I don't really know what that is, because I am curious to see who gravitates towards this game when it comes out, simply because I don't know what type of, like, cachet Bubsy has outside of kind of being this punchline in video games. I don't know if Bubsy has any cachet like in a mainstream type of way. I don't know if it's like parents who maybe don't play as many games or do play games and have younger people in their house and they're like, oh, there's a new Bubsy game. Let me get this Bubsy game for the kids because I used to play Bubsy. I don't know what that whole dynamic is like for people out there, but what I will say is people who are familiar with Fabraz, who most recently put out Demon Tides, which is a game I have not played yet, but I know Dom has played it. Dom reviewed it for the podcast, and I know plenty of other people who have played Demon Tides and really like Demon Tides, and I think Demon Tides is a very good modern platformer that is not made by, Nintendo. So, and the few other people out there that are making, modern platformers still, especially 3D platformers. So with Bubsy 4D, you have this situation where I don't really know what the Bubsy name brings as far as people wanting to pick this up in a positive way. But I do think that when the game comes out, even if it has a slow start, I think the word of mouth around this game is going to be pretty good because I played the game, I finished it. It is not a long game. It has a lot of replay value if collecting things is your jam or speedrunning is your jam. There's definitely reason to go back for those types of hunts and score chasing. There's built-in leaderboard. There's like people on your friends list. I don't know if you can do it with just friends list or leaderboard or both, but you can actually like see their ghost on the map, so like you can play against them sort of and like see what they're doing. But I think there's something really great here, and it speaks to the power of the developers who are making the game, because I think that the Bubsy parts of it aside, what's here is a very interesting platformer. So you have this kind of open space that you're able to really tackle platforming objectives in a multitude of ways. So you have like starting off, you have a lot of abilities like at your disposal. Like you have jump, double jump. I think you can flutter jump or glide a little bit. You have the ability to turn into a hairball and like roll around, which you can also bounce and do interesting things with that ability. But in addition to all of those things, you can pounce as well. You can unlock a bunch of different abilities for jumping and other types of stuff. So like you kind of get this suite of platforming, just like a whole treasure chest of platforming abilities. And it's like you can jump off a ledge and be in the air for quite a while utilizing different tactics. So you can like seemingly not break the game, but like it encourages you to like play around with maybe jumps you couldn't do in a normal platformer. Like just like a lot of different experimentation to play around with how you're covering these stages and getting collectibles and stuff. So there's 4 ways. There's like 4 things to do in a level. You can collect yarn, which is just like the collectible in the level. So I don't know if every level is the same amount. I don't remember if it's like a standard set amount of yarn balls in each level or if it varies. But you can collect yarn balls, and that's like a collectathon type of thing, goal to achieve in a level if you want to do that. You can find optional paths that will lead, like there's like an optional like platforming challenge that you can find that will lead to a blueprint, and blueprints are helpful if you are trying to unlock new abilities, because every time you get a blueprint you can get a new ability from the hub world. There are the main kind of objective is get to the end of the level and you get the golden fleece, which is a big golden yarn ball. And then the 4th little objective you can do in a level is each level has its own like speedrun timer, like objective time. So it's like, oh, if you beat this level in 8 minutes, you get the gold medal for beating it in like the speedrun type of thing. So you are kind of you have these. You don't have to do any of that stuff other than get the golden fleece. Like the game doesn't punish you for not getting collectibles. It doesn't punish you for not doing the speedrun thing. You don't have to get the blueprints. Obviously, the blueprints are helpful if you want to like unlock more abilities, but those other things don't matter if you don't care about doing them. So that's a nice just little, those are just bonus things that you don't actually have to do, but obviously the blueprints are kind of fun to get because it does give you more abilities. And the yarn pieces, those just allow you to unlock different cosmetic outfits for Bubsy. So again, it's not like pertinent that you have to do those things. And even if you're not trying to like get all 150 in a stage, you'll get probably enough organically playing through the game that like you could probably at least unlock one or two outfits if you wanted to. But obviously, if there are more outfits that you want, you can just play for the yarn. I didn't feel like there was a lot of enemies on stages. Like there are things that are trying to hurt you and kill you, but I did feel like the bigger threat to you is your platforming ability and your patience. I feel like those are the things that like are more obstructive to you getting to the end of your objective than it was some of the enemies. I don't know. Any of this sound interesting to you, Mike? You like platformers? I don't know. Like,
Yeah, I feel like I do.
does like ultra mobility sound appealing to you? Like a being able to jump a bunch of different times and like glide, bounce, do all these additional things to like clear gaps and like get into interesting ways to beat levels and stuff.
It makes me think of, I don't remember what game it was because I didn't play. It was more like me watching somebody like upload videos of them playing some game where they essentially they did something similar. Like I want to say it's probably Odyssey, where like someone would be like, "Oh, let me try and jump to this location by doing jump, jump, throw the hat, do this, blah blah blah, blah, do another jump, blah blah blah," like that sort of thing, which looks technically impressive, but I feel like it would upset me to try and do something like that. For me to look at something and say, I can probably get there with these abilities, and then mess it up enough times where I'm like, either I can't do it, or I'm just bad at the game. That kind
Yeah.
of thing.
So I feel like Bubsy 4D, at least for me, felt a little more forgiving in that way, simply because you kind of have a lot more opportunity to like do the thing. You don't have to like do one specific movement of like in Odyssey. I got to roll, jump, throw my hat, and like bounce off the hat. Like there's a little bit more forgiveness. There's a little bit more tools at your disposal. What the fuck is
Disposal.
Um, so you have a little bit more leeway. So one of the things that's like a personal taste for me, not necessarily negative on the game, but like personal taste, Bubsy 4D, you feel a little slippery and floaty, which again is not negative, and I don't think it's like bad platforming. I just think I personally prefer a little bit more tighter platforming. And in this, it's a little bit slippery, but all of the extra abilities, I think, also work in that specific style of like, it's a little floaty. It's a little like you can kind of do a lot more in the air and like save yourself and like climb up a ledge and like do all these little things that I think are just more forgiving, and also open it up for like people to really try to get a little more precise and like maybe hit very specific frames and do all of these crazy jumps and like skip a part of the stage. Like what I do think this is I think Bubsy 4D does a very good job at being a very approachable platformer that has a lot of tools for people who really want to go sicko mode and speedrun the hell out of this game. Like I think this game's going to have a healthy speedrunning community. Wouldn't be surprised to see this pop up at a GDQ at some point. Like I do think that this is like super low bar for people that want to just have a good, fun, short platforming game. and then a lot of replayability for people who really want to break the level and like find the best path forward. And because you can watch other people's runs within a game, like against your character, your Bubsy, I feel like that's gonna lead to people like pushing it even further. So I think for the people that care about that stuff, it's gonna be interesting. I do think that there's also like, it's like a light nudge into people who maybe do want to speedrun or play around with that, just because it has those abilities to kind of like, it has that mirror thing or ghost thing. It has one of the kind of checklist things being a speedrunning timer, and then you can also, when you finish a level, you can click on like the leaderboard and see where people stand and how quick they've finished the level, and maybe you're like, oh, you can beat this level that fast. Let me see if I can do that again. I had a good time, or whatever. Or I unlocked a bunch of new abilities. Let me go back in and play around. So I think if that's interesting to you, I think this game has a lot there for you. For me, I'm not a big speedrun guy personally. I like to watch speedruns, but it's not like where I am trying to live my personal gaming life. But I also do like collectathons. So I was the first half of the game, I was spending a lot of time like, I'm gonna get all the yarn, I'm gonna look for the blueprints, and then as the game went on, I was like, I'm gonna not get as much yarn, but I'm gonna try to find the blueprints. And then by the end, I was just getting the blueprints and moving on, which was fine with me. Again, I was having a good time with it. So the rest of the stuff on top of the platform, because I think for what this game is, what Bubsy 4D is, it's a really strong platformer. It's a short experience, couple hours, you can get to Golden Path. Obviously a lot more time if you want to get all the collectibles and complete everything. Obviously a lot more time if you want to replay and try to hone in your speedrunning time. But what I think this doesn't do a lot for me is the Bubsy part of it. Like, Bubsy is fine. I think he's not annoying, which is another thing I think people would maybe associate with the character. I don't think Bubsy is that annoying in this game. I think the dialogue is like not beat you over the head with it. I think some of the other like characters are fine. I like the visuals of this game. I think it looks very Saturday morning cartoon. Like it's good animation. Like I like that stuff of it. But not that I need a story necessarily out of a platformer, but I didn't. It wasn't doing anything for me. I was kind of just like, okay, cool, I gotta get the golden fleece. Okay, the woolies and the alien guys are taking the yarn. I gotta stop them, and there's a couple of big bads that I gotta deal with. The boss fights, actually, I will say, at the end of each world were fun. They were varied. They were not the same as each one was very different. I did enjoy those sections, and I did enjoy like the final boss fight. That was a good kind of culmination of the gameplay up to that point. So I did like those. I think this is something I would recommend to people who are looking for a nice short platformer. I think that this is doing a lot of fun stuff with that platforming toolbox. I think that your mileage is going to vary on whether or not you care about the collectathon part or the speedrunning part, but those things are both there for people that like those types of things. But they're also super optional if you just want a platformer. So I think when it's all said and done, Bubsy, Mike, I think Bubsy's having his RDJ moment. I think this is Bubsy's Iron Man. Like, I think he's gonna go on to give us like 10 years of movies.
Wow, calling a shot right now?
No,
That's crazy.
I don't. No, well, I mean, it depends who's making the game. If Fabrowse is gonna make more Bubsy games, I do think that Bubsy is gonna. I think this is gonna be a pleasant surprise for a lot of people. I think people are gonna be happy with this if they give it a shot. I think people are gonna really enjoy that Bubsy's back in like an earnest way, and not just like here's this 90s platform mascot that we're going to dunk on, or like be very self-aware. And I'm sure there might have been some dialogue that was like look at the camera type of dialogue. I'm trying to remember if I can remember it. That's how unannoying it was. Like even if he did like reference anything like that, it was not annoying to me because it maybe happened once or twice and that was about it. I will say some of the cosmetics are fun. A lot of it is just like different jackets and outfits that you'd remember. Classic Bubsy like shirt with the exclamation point. You can also unlock, which was the first skin that I unlocked, Bubsy 3D, which is great. I played most of the game as Bubsy 3D. And then one that I thought was very funny. There's a skin, I believe it's just called Hedgehog, where it is Bubsy with no shirt on. He has white gloves and familiar looking red and white sneakers and a big blurred out like sensor thing around his crotch area. Well, I just thought it was funny. The blur thing, I don't think I needed. Oh, you know what? Now that I'm thinking about it, Sonic has a nickname, the Blue Blur, so maybe that's why they put a blur, because it's like, maybe that's what the joke is? I don't know.
Triple entendre, don't even ask me how.
Don't even ask me how. So I didn't think about that literally until just now. So he's the orange blur, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. Bubsy 4D was good. If I had to put a number on it, if I had to do it, I think it's a solid 7 for me. 7 out of 10. I think that it's a really good platformer. I think it has a lot of really great tools. I think you can have a lot of fun with that game. I think some of the other stuff outside of that is what kind of weighs it down just a little bit for me. Like, it wasn't like it. I'm happy Bubsy is getting a moment in a good game, but if you stripped away the Bubsy parts of it and did another Demon Tides game or something else with that, it made it more interesting. I think that would have made it a better game for me, or just make the Bubsy parts more. And like, I didn't need it to be like this best Bubsy story, characters, all these things I care about. It was just there. Like, it was just a thing. I wasn't mad by it, but it didn't do anything special for me. So I think those things would elevate it a little bit more for me personally. But super solid, definitely something worth checking out. I think like I said, if you are a Bubsy fan, this is easily the best Bubsy game. So you should be very happy with what you're about to get yourself into. If you just are a platforming fan and you want a good platformer, I think this is definitely a good modern one to add to the list of things to check out. I feel weird personally suggesting also checking out Demon Tides because I haven't played it, but again, I've heard enough people I trust, including Dom, kind of speak to its credibility. So I would say also, if you're a fan of, I would check out Demon Tides as well, from the same developer for Braz. If you are interested in Bubsy 4D or you play Bubsy 4D and you liked it, I would definitely also go check out Demon Tides, just because I've heard a lot of great things about that as well. And it's a very similar platformer, I believe, with a lot of like tools at your disposal for platforming. So I said exposal again. Why do I keep doing that? What am I?
Where you got that word from?
Exposal. I feel like there's another word I'm thinking of, and I just keep saying exposal for some reason. Anyways, Bubsy 4D, Mike, you sold? You're gonna go buy Bubsy 4D? You a big Bubsy guy now?
I'm sorry. So what is the fourth D?
If you have to ask, you're not ready to know. I don't know. So it's not even the fourth Bubsy game. So I don't know if it's like a play on. I feel like I don't think it's the fourth Bubsy game. Bubsy. Let's just do wiki and just find a list of Bubsy games. Let's see. So you got 1993 Bubsy. This is according to Wikipedia. So in case any of this is wrong. In 1993, Bubsy in Claws Encounters of the Furred Kind. 1994, you got Bubsy 2 and Bubsy in Fractured Furry Tales, unless that's the same game. No, those are separate games. Okay, one of them. Okay, Bubsy 2 looks like it's a Genesis game and Super Nintendo game and Game Boy. And then Bubsy in Fractured Tales looks like it's a Jaguar game. Okay. And then you have in 1996 Bubsy 3D, which I believe is maybe one of the worst games I've ever played. And I think other people would maybe agree. It's really bad, Mike. And then in 2017, so then long gap. And then in 2017, Bubsy's back with Bubsy the Woolies Strike Back, which I believe is also not that great of a game. 2019, Bubsy Paws on Fire, which I believe is also not that great of a game. And then 7 years later, we get Bubsy 4D. So I don't know if it's just like a play on, like, Bubsy 3D was bad, so here's like Bubsy 4D, the good one. I'm not really sure. I don't know what the fourth dimension is. I couldn't tell you.
All right. Well, I'm glad we got to the bottom of that.
Let me see if the wiki says anything about that. The seventh Bubsy game, titled Bubsy 4D, is being developed by indie studio for Braz, and it's going to nope, doesn't really say anything about that. So, yeah, it's. Let me see if the official website says anything about why it's called Bubsy 4D. The infamous wisecracking Bobcat has returned to 3D in a new platforming adventure. Bubsy is back with new challenges, new moves, and even more personality. Run, jump, glide, and roll across alien planets, battle robotic sheep, and collect tons and tons of yarn. What could possibly go wrong? I think, yeah, that's all it says here. I don't know. It's a good game. I had a great time with it. I think that it is definitely something to keep on your radar if you are interested in that. And I believe if you're in the US, it's $20. So I think it's very fairly priced for what the game is. Like it's not a long game unless you sink more replayability hours into it. But I had a good time. I definitely would recommend it if you're a platformer fan, if you like that style of platformer. But I think that's all I got for Bubsy, Mike. I don't know if you got anything else, Bubsy, on the brain. Any questions you got for Bubsy, or if you are anything else you want to say about anything? About me? About you?
Nah.
Oh, looking at my notes real quick. One thing I didn't mention that I did enjoy is that, similar to, like, I think the forgiving nature of how the game handles its platforming, one of the other things I did enjoy is, like, you might be doing some perilous platforming to get a collectible that's out of reach, or a yarn, or whatever it may be. If you get that thing and still fall and die or whatever, you might go back to the checkpoint, but you still keep that thing, which I did appreciate, because I feel like there were some times where I was like, oh, I don't want to do that again. And I was like, oh, I don't have to do that again. That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Bubsy. So, yeah, that's Bubsy 4D. But I think otherwise, Mike, we were pretty much here tonight to talk about Bubsy, so a nice little breakout episode for the Bobcat himself. But I think that will do it for this episode 423 of the Pass Control Podcast. If you're a friend of the show, fan of the show, want to support the show, tons of ways to do that. Easiest way, freest way, head over to wherever you listen to the show, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you're listening to the show. Leave us a quick 5-star review. It's super, super helpful. Helps us grow the show, helps us gain more lovely fans like you out there. So definitely do that if you have a moment. If you want to see everything we do, whether it's written content, drink recipes, links to the podcast or social media, you can head over to our website at passthecontroller.io or playmoreindies.com, and you can check us out over there. Most weeks we record the show live at twitch.tv/passcontroller. This one obviously was not a live show, but it is available if you want to see the video version, if you want to see our faces, if you want to see Mike yawning. It is easy to just type in Pass the Control Podcast over on YouTube and find us over there. If you do, make sure you hit that subscription so that you can just see when we upload new videos. We appreciate you, though, and we will see you next time.